Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Renuka bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring to you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. Pravasi Bharatiya Convention kicks off in Indore on Sunday. The first Global Partnership for Financial Inclusion meeting under India's G20 presidency set to begin in Kolkata on Monday. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal to participate in India-US Trade Policy Forum meeting on Monday. China lifts COVID restrictions for inbound travellers after a gap of 3 years. Japan tightens border movements to control Chinese flyers as a response to surging COVID infections. India provides 75 buses to Sri Lanka under the Indian line of credit. And India begins the rehabilitation of Sri Lanka's Northern Railway line through Ircon. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will formally inaugurate the convention tomorrow. He said in a message that he is looking forward to be at Indore tomorrow to mark Pravasi Bharatiya Divas. He said this is a great opportunity to deepen the connect with Indian diaspora, which has distinguished itself globally. The 3-day Pravasi Bharatiya Divas convention began at Indore this morning. On the first day, Pravasi Bharatiya Youth Conference was inaugurated by Union Minister for Sports and Youth Affairs, Anurag Singh Thakur. Another important event on Sunday was panel discussion on role of diaspora youth in innovations and new technologies. Chairing the session, Mr. Thakur said the Yuva Pravasi Sammelan is not only an effort to connect them to their roots but also to explore new possibility. Talking about youth power of India, the Union Minister said Indian youths have such enthusiasm and passion that they will always make India proud whichever part of the world they go to.
You would be surprised to note that the median age of Indian diaspora in many countries around the world is less than that of other foreign-born and immigration populations there, making Indian diaspora youth a sizable force in several countries to reckon with. The Indian diaspora is hardworking and are go-getters in their fields. Your spirit is unparalleled and unflinching.
On the sidelines of the convention, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar held a bilateral meeting with his Malaysian counterpart. He said the Indian diaspora remains a very strong bridge between the two countries.
Historically, we've always had very good relations, very close, cordial relations. We work together in the ASEAN, but also bilaterally. We have today a trade of more than $20 billion. We believe that it's a trade that can definitely grow in the years to come. In the last few years, we've also seen a lot of changes which have brought the Indian diaspora closer to India.
The first meeting of the Working Group on Global Partnership for Financial Inclusion, GPFI, gets underway in Kolkata on Monday. The meeting is scheduled to be held from 9th of January to 11th of January. The visiting delegates will attend the preparatory meet at the Biswa Bangla Convention Centre in Newtown, Kolkata on 9th of January.
The GPFI member countries, guest countries and international organizations invited by India will participate in the discussions on the finance inclusion agenda under the Indian G20 presidency in Kolkata. At the GPFI plenary sessions on 10th and 11th January, role of digital public infrastructure for advancing financial inclusion and reducing cost of remittances would be discussed. Assessing progress made in implementation of G20 high-level principles for digital financial inclusion and advancing financing for MSMEs are also on the agenda. The meeting will begin with a symposium on unlocking the potentials of digital public infrastructure for advancing financial inclusion and productivity gains. An exhibition on digital innovations for financial inclusion has also been organized. It will showcase India's achievements and efforts in advancing digital financial inclusion. It displays the financial system infrastructure, emerging technologies, and interactive financial literacy awareness videos. A Jan Bhagidari initiative with a seminar on financial literacy will be organized on January 10th. This will be aimed at educating about 1,800 school students on banking, digital payments, insurance, investment, fraud protection and grievance redressal. Nishit Kumar for World News, All India Radio.
Kolkata is geared up to host the first meeting of the working group of GPFI as a part of finance track under Indian G20 presidency. A sneak peek into the buzz in the run-up to the meeting in the City of Joy.
Ahead of the meet, social media is abuzz with the bits and bytes all over. From official handles of the G20 to organizers and delegates, everybody is sharing pictures of Kolkata's landmarks and icons. The official Twitter handle of the G20 is also holding a small quiz about the City of Joy. Images of the iconic sites in Kolkata have been splashed on the social media platforms. These include Howrah Bridge, Victoria Memorial, tram and the yellow taxi. The city streets too have received a makeover with smooth surfaces and wall graffiti. The City of Joy is geared up for the delegates of G20 to showcase the culture, food and lifestyle of Bengal. There will be an assortment of Kolkata's street food at the Victoria Memorial Hall complex on January 11th. Delegates will be taken on excursions to various landmarks, monuments, heritage sites and educational institutions in the city. The visit of delegates will give a fillip to tourism in the city as it showcases its diverse culture, food and heritage. India assumed the presidency of G20 from December 1st, 2022 for a year up to November 30th, 2023. Since then, meetings have already been held in Udaipur, Mumbai and Bengaluru. Nishit Kumar for World News, All India Radio.
India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal will embark on a 3-day official visit to New York and Washington, D.C. on Monday to participate in India-US Trade Policy Forum. The minister, in his first leg of the visit, will interact with CEOs of reputed multinational enterprises, participate in a community event, and join roundtable meetings with business leaders and think tank. He will also visit industries in New York. On 11th of January, Mr. Goyal will attend the 13th Trade Policy Forum (TPF) meeting in Washington, D.C. He will hold one-to-one meeting with the United States Trade Representative, Ambassador Catherine Tai, before delegation-level talks. The minister will also have a bilateral meeting with U.S. Secretary of Commerce Gina Raimondo there. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will flag off the world's longest river cruise MV Ganga Vilas from Varanasi in Uttar Pradesh on the 13th of this month. The luxury cruise will cover a distance of more than 3,200 kilometers across 27 river systems in 5 states in India and Bangladesh. The MV Ganga Vilas cruise is curated to bring out the best of the country to be showcased to the world. The 51 days cruise is planned with visits to 50 tourist spots, including World Heritage Sites, national parks, river ghats, and major cities like Patna in Bihar, Sahibganj in Jharkhand, Kolkata in West Bengal, Dhaka in Bangladesh, and Guwahati in Assam. The MV Ganga Vilas vessel is 62 meters in length and 12 meters in width. It has 3 decks and is furnished with all the amenities to provide a memorable and luxurious experience for tourists. The ship is equipped with pollution-free mechanisms and noise control technologies. The maiden voyage of MV Ganga Vilas will witness 32 tourists from Switzerland relishing the Varanasi to Dibrugarh journey. The expected date of arrival of MV Ganga Vilas in Dibrugarh is on the 1st of March 2023. Union Minister of Ports, Shipping and Waterways, Sarbanand Sonowal, has said that the huge untapped potential of river cruise is set to get unlocked with the launch of this service. Highlighting the need to develop river cruise tourism in the country, the minister said that the development of this sector would generate employment opportunity in the hinterland. He said the river tourism circuits will be developed and integrated with the existing tourism circuits for maximum exposure and rapid development of this sector in the country. In today's Hot Spot section, we bring you a discussion on India approves National Green Hydrogen Mission.
On India's 75th Independence Day, that is 15th August 2021, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had announced the launch of National Hydrogen Mission, NHM, with an aim to make India a global hub for green hydrogen production and export. This would not only help India to make new progress in the field of energy self-reliance, but will also become a new inspiration for clean energy transition all over the world. Green hydrogen has become a global buzzword, especially as the world is facing its biggest ever energy crisis and the threat of climate change is turning into a reality. Hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe, but pure or elemental hydrogen is very scarce. It almost always exists in compounds like with oxygen to form H2O or water. But when electric current is passed through water, it splits it into elemental oxygen and hydrogen through electrolysis. And if the electricity used for this process comes from a renewable source like wind or solar, then the hydrogen thus produced is referred to as green hydrogen. Colors attached to hydrogen indicate the source of electricity used to derive the hydrogen molecule. For instance, if coal is used, it is referred to as brown hydrogen. The mission aims to make India a global hub for production, utilization and export of green hydrogen and its derivatives. Mission will help in India becoming energy independent and in decarbonization of major sectors of the economy. The Union Cabinet, chaired by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, has approved National Green Hydrogen Mission. The initial outlay for the mission will be rupees 19,744 crores, including an outlay of rupees 17,490 crore for the strategic interventions for green hydrogen transition SITE program, rupees 1,466 crore for pilot projects, rupees 400 crore for research and development, and rupees 388 crore towards other mission components. Ministry of New and Renewable Energy (MNRE) will formulate the scheme guidelines for implementation of the respective components. The mission will result in the following likely outcomes by 2030. It would lead to development of green hydrogen production capacity of at least 5 MMT, that is million metric ton per annum, with an associated renewable energy capacity addition of about 125 gigawatt in the country. Total investments would be over rupees 8 lakh crore in total investments. This will lead to creation of over 6 lakh jobs. The cumulative reduction in fossil fuel imports over rupees 1 lakh crore and abatement of nearly 50 MMT of annual greenhouse gas emissions. The mission will have wide-ranging benefits: creation of export opportunities for green hydrogen and its derivatives, decarbonization of industrial, mobility and energy sectors, reduction in dependence on imported fossil fuels and feedstock, development of indigenous manufacturing capabilities, creation of employment opportunities and development of cutting-edge technologies. India's green hydrogen production capacity is likely to reach at least 5 MMT per annum, with an associated renewable energy capacity addition of about 125 gigawatt. The targets by 2030 are likely to bring in over rupees 8 lakh crore investments and create over 6 lakh jobs. Nearly 50 MMT per annum in CO2 emissions are expected to be averted by 2030. The mission will facilitate demand creation, production, utilization and export of green hydrogen. Under the Strategic Interventions for Green Hydrogen Transition Program, SITE, 2 distinct financial incentive mechanisms targeting domestic manufacturing of electrolyzers and production of green hydrogen will be provided under the mission. The mission will also support pilot projects in emerging end-use sectors and production pathways. Regions capable of supporting large-scale production and/or utilization of hydrogen will be identified and developed as green hydrogen hubs. An enabling policy framework will be developed to support establishment of green hydrogen ecosystem. A robust standards and regulations framework will be also developed. Further, a public-private partnership framework for R&D, Strategic Hydrogen Innovation Partnership (SHIP), will be facilitated under the mission. R&D projects will be goal-oriented, time-bound, and suitably scaled up to develop globally competitive technologies. A coordinated skill development program will also be undertaken under the mission. All concerned ministries, departments, agencies and institutions of the central and the state governments will undertake focused and coordinated steps to ensure successful achievement of the mission objectives. Ministry of New and Renewable Energy will be responsible for overall coordination and implementation of the mission.
The Home Ministry of India has designated Hizb-ul-Mujahideen operative Asif Maqbooldar as terrorist under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. Native of Jammu and Kashmir, Dar is currently based in Saudi Arabia. The ministry said Dar is one of the leading radical voices on social media and involved in nefariously influencing Kashmiri youth to take up arms against the Indian government and security forces. Dar is also accused in a case investigated by the NIA in relation to conspiracy to undertake a violent terrorist act in Jammu and Kashmir and major cities in India on the direction from across the border. This is All India Radio giving you the world news. Beijing has reopened two-way trade from the Resuwagadi Kerong port in Nepal, which was shut since the start of the COVID pandemic. Resuwagadi is the oldest trading route between Nepal and China. The goods exported from Nepal are mainly sold in Tibetan cities like Lhasa, Shigatse and Amdo. As per sources from Resuwagadi Customs Office, nearly a dozen containers loaded with Nepali produce have crossed the border till Monday this last week since the reopening of two-way trade. Exports of bamboo bundles, bamboo furniture and handicraft materials, including copper handicraft materials, are taking place from Rasuagadi, which is the international trade point of Nepal with China. At present, 14 containers have been importing goods to Nepal daily via the custom point. But still, Beijing has not allowed the movement of people from the border point. High Commissioner of India in Sri Lanka, Gopal Bagle, has handed over the first fleet of 75 buses to Sri Lanka's Transport Minister, Dr. Bandula Gunawardene. Mr. Gunawardene said the buses were manufactured to suit the condition of roads in rural areas. As many as 500 buses will be supplied to Sri Lanka under an Indian line of credit. President of Guyana, Dr. Muhammad Irfan Ali, arrived in New Delhi on Saturday night to attend the Pravasi Bharatiya Divas. The visiting dignitary left for Indore Sunday morning. He will attend the inaugural session of the Pravasi Bharatiya Divas convention on Monday. He will also attend programs in Agra, Kanpur, Bengaluru and Mumbai during his week-long visit to India. Track rehabilitation work of Sri Lanka's Northern Line by Ircon International Limited commenced on Sunday. Sri Lanka's Transport Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardene and Indian High Commissioner Gopal Bagle unveiled a plaque at the ceremonial launch of the rehabilitation project at Meravachia in Anuradhapura district. The 128-kilometer-long Maho-Omantai line will be upgraded by the Indian Transport Infrastructure Miniratna Enterprise under an Indian line of credit at a cost of $91.27 million. The project aims at enabling an increase in the maximum train speed to 100 km per hour, thereby improving connectivity to the northern region of the island nation. In the U.S., torrential downpours and damaging winds have left hundreds of thousands of homes and businesses in California without power on early Sunday. More than 5.6 lakh homes have been reported to be still without power in the state. Forecasters have warned of yet another high intensity of dense, moist tropical air in California on Monday with rain and mountain snow. A National Weather Service NWS weather alert on Saturday warned that the cumulative effect of successive heavy rainstorms since late December could bring rivers to record high levels and cause flooding across much of central California. Two subway trains collided between two stations on Saturday in Mexico, killing at least one person and injuring 57 others. The accident happened on Line 3 of the capital's metro system between the Potrero and La Raza stations. The largest minority organization of the country, Bangladesh Hindu Buddhist Christian Oikea Parishad, completed its march to Dhaka from Chattogram on Saturday. The Oikea Parishad Presidium member Kajal Devnath said that they handed over a memorandum to Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina after the police stopped the march on the Shahbag intersection from proceeding further. The memorandum put forward a number of demands, including the enactment of the Minorities Protection Act, the formation of a separate ministry for the minority communities, and the National Commission of Minorities. It also demanded that the government should enact laws against discrimination, the Interstate Property Conservation Act, and properly implement the Entrusted Property Transfer Act and the Chattogram Hill Tracts Peace Accord. The last day of the 10th Dhaka Lit Fest on Sunday began on a calmer note with a warmer sun gracing the morning. Nobel laureate Abdul Razak Gurnah and British publisher Alexandra Pringle, poet and writer Gautam Guha Roy and Professor Reza Libis were among those who addressed the concluding session. Right before the closing ceremony, 2022 Booker Prize winner and Sri Lankan author Shehan Karunatilaka discussed his Booker-winning novel, The Seven Moons of Mali Almeida, with among South Asia's most prolific literary agents, Kanishka Gupta. The festival officially concluded with a recitation and dance performance and music performances by Coke Studio Bangla. The lineup for the show included Animus Roy, Pantha Kanai, Rubayat Rahman, Rituraj, Nandita, Sunidhi Naik and Bogo Taleb. This year's edition of DLF began amidst much apprehension, with ticket charges drawing doubts on how many people would attend. Despite occasional lags in communication, the inventiveness with which DLF 2023 was curated, showcase how stories run across not just literature and art, but science, technology, business, climate change, music, sports, culinary arts, and more. China has lifted quarantine requirements for inbound travelers from Sunday, ending almost 3 years of self-imposed isolation, even as the country battles a surge in COVID cases. From Sunday onwards, inbound travelers to China will no longer be quarantined. Beijing last month began a dramatic dismantling of a hardline virus strategy that had enforced mandatory quarantines and grueling lockdowns. The containment policy has tanked China's economy and sparked nationwide protests. Since March 2020, all arrivals had been forced to undergo isolation at centralized government facilities. This decreased from 3 weeks to 1 week this summer and 2 to 5 days in November. Chinese people rushed to plan trips abroad after officials last month announced that quarantine would be dropped, sending inquiries on popular travel websites soaring. But the expected surge in visitors has led over a dozen countries to impose mandatory COVID tests on travelers from the world's most populous nation as it battles its worst ever outbreak. The outbreak is forecast to worsen as China enters the Lunar New Year holiday this month, during which millions are expected to travel from hard-hit megacities to the countryside to visit vulnerable older relatives. Beijing has called travel curbs imposed by other countries unacceptable, despite it continuing to largely block foreign tourists and international students from traveling to China. Japan began tightening temporary border controls starting from Monday for people arriving from China in response to the surge in coronavirus infections there. Travelers who arrive via direct flights from mainland China will be required to show proof of a negative test result obtained within 72 hours before departure. Tests upon arrival are being switched in phases from simple antigen tests to more accurate methods, such as PCR screening. Those who test positive will be required to stay at quarantine facilities. The Japanese government will continue urging airlines to limit direct flights from mainland China to 4 ports: Narita, Haneda, Kansai, and Chubu. This measure has been in effect since December the 30th. Japan's health ministry said 4,895 travelers from China have been tested upon arrival from December the 30th to January the 5th. It said 408 of them tested positive for the coronavirus. On Saturday, an airplane flown by Jetstar made an emergency landing in central Japan after receiving an apparent bomb threat from an international caller, public broadcaster NHK reported, citing police sources. Tokyo's Narita Airport received the call at 6:20 a.m. Japan time from a man in Germany speaking in English that he had put a bomb on the aircraft. The flight was then diverted to Chubu Airport. All 136 passengers and 6 crew members aboard evacuated the aircraft there, informed the airport officials. At least 5 people were lightly injured while evacuating the plane via emergency chutes. According to reports, the caller claimed to have placed 100 kilograms of plastic explosives in the aircraft's cargo and demanded to speak with the manager or he would set off them. The authorities found no explosives even after extensive research. The Chubu Airport spokesperson said flights had resumed at the facility following a 4-hour suspension and the incident is being investigated. On Sunday, German police detained an Iranian national on suspicion of planning a terror attack in the country, according to the authorities. The Münster police informed that the 32-year-old man is believed to have procured unspecified amounts of the toxins cyanide and ricin in preparation for an Islamist-motivated attack. The suspect was detained following an investigation by the North Rhine-Westphalia Central Office for the Prosecution of Terrorism, a unit of the Düsseldorf Public Prosecutor's Office. Police retrieved materials during a search of the suspect's home in the city of Castrop-Rauxel, and an investigation is underway, according to the police officials. After the conclusion of the 3-match T20 series, India and Sri Lanka will now shift their focus to ODI cricket. The 3-match ODI series will begin from Tuesday. The first match will be played in Guwahati, and the next 2 matches will take place in Kolkata and Thiruvananthapuram on January the 12th and 15th. Indian skipper Rohit Sharma, who missed India's last 2 bilateral series, will return to lead the team. Jasprit Bumrah has also been included in the ODI squad. Bumrah was out of cricketing action since September 2022 due to a back injury. India last played an ODI series against Sri Lanka in July 2021. Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Guardian writes, the Palestinian foreign minister says Israel has revoked his travel permit after the hardline Israeli government announced a series of punitive steps against the Palestinians days ago. The Washington Post reports at least 38 people were killed and dozens injured in a bus crash in central Senegal early on Sunday, officials said, marking one of the deadliest accidents in the West African nation in recent years. The New York Times writes, in speakers' fights' final hours, arm twisting, flaring tempers, and calls from Trump. The Business Recorder writes, Imran urges establishment to refrain from political engineering in next elections. Wall Street Journal writes, Germany detains Iranian suspected of planning chemical attack. The Globe and Mail reports, some Canadians set to return from Mexico's Mazatlan area as airports reopen. A Rohingya community leader called Rohingya Maji has been stabbed to death at Palong Khali camp in Ukhia, Upazila of Cox's Bazar, reports Pratham Alu. 2 to 3 unidentified miscreants stabbed Rashid in his shed at the camp around 7 p.m. on Saturday and fled the scene. He was rushed to MSF hospital at the camp where doctors declared him dead. The Technical Evaluation Committee of the Bangladesh Energy Regulatory Commission has recommended raising retail electricity prices by 15%, reports Daily Star. The weighted average tariff charged per kilowatt hour by different power companies is 7.13 taka. It is being proposed that this should rise to 8.23 taka. Also under consideration by the Commission is the question of whether existing government subsidies will remain intact as the tariff is hiked. And now a quick look at the headlines once again. Pravasi Bharatiya Convention kicks off in Indore on Sunday. The first Global Partnership for Financial Inclusion meeting under India's G20 presidency set to begin in Kolkata on Monday. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal to participate in India-US Trade Policy Forum meeting on Monday. China lifts COVID restrictions for inbound travelers after a gap of 3 years. Japan tightens border movements to control Chinese flyers as a response to surging COVID infections. India provides 75 buses to Sri Lanka under the Indian line of credit. And India begins the rehabilitation of Sri Lanka's northern railway line through Ircon. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnavajan, by artists from Australia.
Vaishnavajan to kehne kaiye je tere sarai jaane re aur tuske upkar kare to ye man abhiman na mere paglo Mana nish chal raha hai, hum zara jana mein